Hello everybody, Mannix here. Got a little knife review for you right here, right now. Feel free to subscribe, hit the little bell notification if you do not want to miss weekly knife and gun videos. This is going to be on the Ozark Trail 6842. Came out super late 2023, filming this early 2024. It was one of the 3 shaft lock folding knives that Ozark Trail released. Basically, it's a Benchmade Axis lock clone, but we're starting to call them shaft locks, I believe. These have a lot of different names for them because Benchmade is not the only company using these things anymore, thank God. Let's just get the specs out of the way real quick. The blade, according to my measurements, is 3 inches long, the handle is 4 inches, and the overall length is 7 inches. My scale is saying this weighs 2.61 ounces, so it's well under 3 ounces. Nice, lightweight, small, medium actually size folder. I can get a full grip on this thing, all 4 of my fingers, my thumb. I really like the way it looks. It kind of reminds me of the CRKT M16 line a little bit. Its overall profile, kind of a spear point blade we have going on here. Generally pretty versatile. I like the finish. It almost looks like a dark stonewash or almost a black wash finish. It's not, it's just a simple stonewash. Not bad looking, kind of rugged and pre-worn. It's pretty cool. Very versatile, simple design right here. Kind of reminds me of like a shark. We got the shaft lock, if you will, the axis lock. We have the thumb studs and the flipper. So technically speaking, we have 3 effective ways we can deploy this knife. Using the locking mechanism itself, using the flipper, or using the thumb studs. Thumb studs are pretty much perfect. They're nice and rounded at the tips right there, and they're also cylindrical. No problems with those. You can open it conventionally, you can open it quickly. And it's pretty rare you see a flipper shaft lock knife, because it's kind of tricky. You have to make the tang of the blade able to accommodate the locking mechanism. As you can see, there's just a cutout in there that wraps around the locking mechanism. It's a little gritty on deployment. Right around here, you can feel it get kind of caught up and grind away at that locking mechanism. I really tried to break this sucker, and I opened and closed this one countless times, and it's still a little bit gritty. It's certainly a lot better than when I first got it, when I made that first impressions video, but it's still not quite as smooth as the other Ozark Trails I collected from that roster. But not bad at all. I just have to kind of get used to that grittiness. See, it kind of stuck right there. I didn't successfully engage the locking mechanism that time. It's kind of gritty right around here, and I heard multiple people are having that issue. It's not just that this one was a lemon. A lot of people had that same problem. That's one of the things with these Ozark Trails and cheaper knives is that quality control is not excellent. The price kind of reflects that. You may get a good one, you may get a crappy one. But if you're not familiar, Ozark Trail is Walmart's brand of like camping, EDC, outdoor, whatever you want to call it, gear. And Walmart has a very good return policy. It's extremely easy to return products to them. Not that it matters that much because these knives are only $5. That's right, $5 even. So not really much to complain about there. Honestly, it's okay. Deployment overall is fine. I can flick this out easily with no wrist movement with the flipper, as well as the thumb stud. Again, you can open it conventionally just fine. They're nice rounded thumb studs. Your thumb fat's nice and comfortable in there. You can hear the grittiness too. It's the way our locking mechanism is bumping up against our blade tang. You can see inside, like right there. Right there, that's where it starts grinding. Over time, it'll slowly start improving, and you can oil it, etc. But it's just the way the grind's designed from what I'm hearing from multiple people who have had this knife. So, but again, not a big deal. It's just, I think it's worth having both the flipper and thumb studs on there. So I really like that. Lockup is almost excellent now. Actually, when I first got this out of the package, I did have some up and down play, but as I broke it in, again, I deliberately opened and closed this knife many times trying to break it in, and eventually it kind of nested itself in there and it broke in nicely. Now the blade play is almost completely gone, almost a rock solid lockup, but there's just a little bit of something in there. If I really crank down on it, I can feel a little something wiggling in there, but it's very minor, and that's you're talking about getting into nitty gritties at that point. For $5, nothing wrong with the locking mechanism whatsoever. In fact, for $50, this would be an okay lockup too. I've seen bad lockups on knives that were $80, $90, $100, so not a big issue there. Again, I like the way it looks, like the way it feels. It's nice and lightweight, very lightweight. Actually, almost a 3-inch total cutting edge, and again, less than 3 ounces if you're into your light knives. There you go. Polypropylene handle scales on here, full stainless steel liners accommodating them. In previous videos, I said, I think these knives use FRN. I'm not sure. It's not. It's polypropylene. If you're not familiar, polypropylene is just yet another one of the many, many types of plastics, polymers out there. It's not reinforced with anything. FRN, GFN, etc. That's glass and plastic mixed together, glass and nylon, or glass and some other kind of polymer mixed together. This is like that, but minus the glass, so it's basically just plastic. However, polypropylene is one of the hardest plastics out there. They call it the steel of plastics. Ooh. Yeah, it's a very, very rigid, hard plastic. It's certainly harder than ABS plastic, harder than nylon. Although nylon has a much higher tensile strength, this guy is more rigid than nylon. So it's a very, very, very hard plastic. So for handle scales, if you're just going to pick a plastic, polypropylene is probably the way to go. Its tensile strength, however, is half, if not a third, of what you'd get on a typical FRN or GFN. So it's certainly not as strong, not as hard as those materials, of course, but it's cheaper. You could argue it's even lighter. It's not an advantage other than price, but really the big thing is that these knives are so cheap. That's why they use cheaper materials like that. So most likely all these Ozark trails, if it's not aluminum or if it's not steel, most likely it's polypropylene. This is what it said on the back of the package when I read it. Very, very hard plastic, just not as good as your typical FRN. However, nobody's really having any issues with these things, even with that handle material. I know it's a standard. We got to have our FRN. We got to have our reinforced plastics and nylons. If we're not going to go with G10 or stainless steel or titanium or micarta, this would not be an acceptable material on a more expensive knife. I'm talking a knife that's like $25 and up, from Kershaw, CRKT, even Cold Steel, etc. But for a $5, I'm not kidding, $5, a $5 folding knife, totally worth it, totally fine, totally adequate. If you're not slamming this thing against concrete or steel, I don't think you're going to have any problems with the material. Nobody else has. I haven't. I think it just proves it's totally adequate, especially for a knife of this cost. So polypropylene is A-okay by my standards. And again, we are reinforced with stainless steel liners in here, so it's no issues whatsoever. No issues with cracking or breaking, anything like that. I love this texture they put on this one. It's kind of reminiscent of a medium lighter traction G10. Kind of looks like a G10 too. It really, really reminds me of the Kershaw OD2, one of my favorite knives ever. Really small, little discontinued knife, but it used almost this exact style texturing. It's just like that. It's kind of like G10. It's as close as a polymer without any resin enforcing it is going to get to a G10-like texture. That's the best way I can describe it. Huge fan, huge fan. Nice and grippy, but not too aggressive. Pocket clip is fantastic. No issues with this pocket clip. It is loop over hallelujah. And look, it's flush mounted, nested within that polypropylene handle. Mwah! That is just a chef's kiss right there. You're not going to have any issues with it wriggling around, even if it gets a little loose on you, because it's nested inside of there. I like that. There's a cutout, as you can see on the other side, that accommodates the pocket clip so it stays nice and snug. It is swappable to the left side. Thank you very much. Lefties rejoice. Loop over, tip up, swappable to the left side. Looks like it's a stonewash finish on there too. It's not bad looking. This is excellent, man. Great pocket clip for a $5 folder. Get out of here, my G. That's excellent. 10 out of 10 for the pocket clip for this price range. Anyway, it could not have been any better. It's cool looking too. It has a nice little proprietary design. It doesn't just look like some generic slapped on pocket clip. It actually looks like it was custom made for this knife. Actually very interesting. It kind of protrudes out a little bit, so you can certainly accommodate thicker fabrics that way. And it looks like kind of, it looks like it bevels down too. It's not flush, which honestly, that kind of looks a little cheap to me, but I'm not going to complain for $5. Great tension, great pocket clip, simple, versatile ergonomics, no problems there. It's nice and wide too. It's nice and hand filling. So despite being on the smaller side, again, I still call it like medium size folder, but nice and thick, a lot to hold on to. I like the blade shape. I like the blade finish. I like how you can deploy it in a lot of different ways. Of course, I love that locking mechanism. The fidget factor is there. The speed is there. The strength is there. And again, at this price point, there's really nothing bad I can say about it at all, other than the grittiness right around here. The way that locking mechanism rushes up against the tang of the blade. I don't like that. That's just how it's designed. It's just kind of a crudely designed tang, I suppose. But hey, they mixed a flipper with a shaft lock, so I'm not going to complain too much. And for $5, I'm certainly not going to complain. Kind of wish it was jimped, but $5, not going to complain. Kind of wish that flipper was jimped, but no well. Blade material most likely is either 3CR13 or 440A. I don't remember offhand. They don't advertise it anywhere, and I think somebody tested this or figured this out or called up the company or something. I can't remember, but it's something like that. It's soft, cheap, crappy steel, but it's heat treated okay. Out of the box, really not bad. Not bad at all. Really, really nice edge right there. A little wee wob right there. It's not great, but certainly a utility edge, I'll give it that. I haven't cut a whole lot of stuff with this knife. I have occasionally, I just used it like I would any other EDC knife, but I have a lot of experience with whatever this blade steel is that's been on most likely all the other Ozark trails as far as I know, at least in recent years. Heat treatment's A-okay on it actually for the price point. Blade steel's A-okay for the price point. Nice and sharp out of the box. Razor sharp out of the box actually, despite having a few wee wads there, despite needing a little bit of touching up. It's a little rough. Again, the price point's going to reflect that. It's cheap. So overall, fantastic EDC. One of the best EDC knives out there for $5 on the planet. It's going to outperform knives close to the $20 or even $25 range, I would say. It's very close to that quality level because we got this locking mechanism, the strength, the speed, the fidget factor. We got nice ergos on here. We have a good blade shape on here. I think it's not a bad looking knife. Completely ambidextrous. Nice texturing on the handle scales. Nice and lightweight. I have nothing bad to say about this knife for $5. If it was like 20 bucks, could you throw some jimping on here? Hey, could you fix the whole gritty issue we have with the deployment? But even then, other than that, it still wouldn't be that bad of a knife. It's still really, really, really good. Once it does dull on you, hey, resharpen it a few passes, just keep it stropped. You'll get that razor edge right back on there very quickly. That at least is the advantage to the cheaper steels. So that is it. That is this Ozark Trail with the axis lock or shaft lock, whatever you want to call it. Crossbar lock, Duro lock, it just depends on what brand. Really, really, really impressed with this knife overall. I'm actually blown away that it's only $5. That's mind-blowing. This is just yet more proof that other knife companies out there, you don't have an excuse. If you can't make a knife at this quality with this style locking mechanism, with this lockup, with tip-up carry that's ambidextrous, that's nonsense to me at this point. If this company can do that for $5, I think you can do better too. No excuses anymore, guys. Ozark Trail is now setting the standard for cheap knives, and this is actually really, really incredible for the $5 range. One of the best $5 knives out there, sitting right next to the other Ozark Trails that were also, again, $5-6 or so. So anyway, that's what you get today. That is this Ozark Trail. Let me know what you think of this knife, if you personally own it, if you've had any blade play issues, or if you've had any gritty deployment issues, or do you just love it? Do you have no obvious issues with it at all? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. Mannix out.